What's going on, guys? Matt here. So today we are looking at the Benchmade Mini Adamas. Now, obviously, we aren't looking at the full size, and obviously, we aren't looking at the standard Benchmade Mini Adamas. This one's a bit special, has magna cut steel, and it has carbon fiber scales, different color scheme, but we're going to be talking all things Benchmade Mini Adamas. Before I continue, I want to remind you to like and subscribe. I'm getting close to 3,500 subscribers. I'd like to see 5,000 by the end of 2025. That's kind of a goal I have. I'm not trying to make YouTube a career, but it is fun to see the channel grow. So remember to like and subscribe if knife reviews and maybe adventure videos are your thing. So we're going to talk Benchmade Mini Adamas. We'll do some size comparisons, talk specs. We'll talk about what I like, what I don't mind, what I dislike, and then we will close the video with whether or not I recommend it. So let's do some size comparisons first, just so you guys can see kind of what the Mini Adamas will compare to. So let's look at it in comparison to the much well-used Rat Model 1. I haven't broken this guy out in a long time. And let me adjust this lighting real quick so we can see this a little bit better. So yeah, you can see that's got a lot of wear on it, some rust. This is AUS-8, you know, it's a user knife, although I haven't used this in probably a year or so. Anyway, similar size, a little bit smaller on the Mini Adamas. Let's compare it to, you know, something similar in size. I'm just kidding. This Cold Steel Formax Scout. This brute, absolute beast of a knife. Very, very different blades, though. This is a stout kind of tank of a blade too. And this would kind of compare, I won't say closely, but compare more closely, like the full-size Adamas would kind of compare closer to the Formax Scout. All right, let's compare it to a blade that I'm absolutely loving, the Schrade Divergent. Really, really like this blade. I'll talk about more in the review video when I get around to it, but similar size, a little bit smaller on the Schrade Divergent. Okay, that's enough for comparison. So we're talking about a 3.25-inch blade. Close length is 4.37 inches, so that's, you know, how long the handle will be. Blade thickness is 3.5 millimeters, so pretty stout blade for a folding knife of this size. Obviously, it has an axis locking mechanism. This has carbon fiber scales, but most of them do have G10. This is in Magna Cut, but I believe the majority of them come in crew wear. Both just outstanding steels from Crucible, which hopefully stays around. Hopefully someone buys that. Has a tip-up carry, obviously, loop over pocket clip. And to pick one of these up, standard versions, you're looking at close to about $300. That's what they're going for on Blade HQ right now. Let me check that. Yep, $290 is what they're going for. And let's see if they have the carbon fiber version. They do. That is, good Lord, $450. Okay, so, all right, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about what I like, what I don't mind, what I dislike, and talk about whether or not I recommend this blade. So I really like the stoutness of this blade. This is just the mini version of the Adamas, obviously. The Adamas is full 4-inch blade, and it is a little bit more stout, feels more like a tank, kind of, you know, a little bit more lightweight than this guy, but kind of in the same ballpark, you know, kind of a tank of a full-sized knife. This is that just shrunken down, but it still feels like it has that sturdiness that the full-size Adamas has. You know, axis lock, very strong lock, 3.5 millimeters, you know, that's pretty stout for a folding knife. That's about what you get on a lot of belt knives for fixed blades. So I think it's really, really stout. Also has full steel liners. They are skeletonized, so are the scales. I think that's a cool, actually, aesthetic. I really quite like that. And the carbon fiber on this is really, really pretty. So I think that's a really nice touch. And it looks good on the G10 version as well. So a very sturdy knife. I don't think you're gonna have any issues with the Mini Adamas or full-size Adamas, you know, kind of giving it whatever you want to throw at it. So the other thing I really appreciate is the design. I've handled the full-size Adamas when I was at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and I was super close to getting it a couple years ago, and I chose not to, mostly because it felt really blocky in the hand. It felt just uncomfortable, even though it fit my hands, like I had plenty of room. It was just very squared, and I don't usually mind squared handles, but that was just not very comfortable. This has a little bit more of a slender profile, and it's actually plenty comfortable. I got enough room, you know, I've got plenty of room, to be honest, for a folding size knife. And particularly if I took this clip off, this would be really comfortable. I could use this all day, I think, in the woods, you know, whittling, things like that. So I really quite like the design. I think it's a more doable design than the full-size Adamas, right? I think that's why people are excited when this one came out, because this is a knife you can carry in your pocket pretty regularly, and you're really probably not going to notice it, to be honest. You know, I actually, you know what? I breezed over weight under specs, so let me get that weight real quick for you guys. Let's see, 4.6 ounces. So yeah, definitely not a light knife, but that's not really what this knife is going for. It's not lightweight. It's your kind of tank of a knife, your very, very stout blade, something along the lines that you might use like a Cold Steel Code 4 or Recon 1 for. You might use the Benchmade Mini Adamas for. So I really like the design. I think it looks really good, even again in the G10, and I think it's super functional. And that kind of brings me to the blade. The blade profile on this is awesome. It's kind of a drop point, has that hump where that jimping comes up, and it has this drop point with that swedge on the top. I think it's a really, really interesting looking blade. Has a fuller there as well. And yeah, I think again, like if you compare it to something like the Rat 1, this is a perfectly fine blade. Does it look as good as this? No, not even close. Is it as usable? Probably. Like it's a perfectly usable and a great blade. But this has a lot of design characteristics to it. I think it just makes it look really interesting. You know, really pretty kind of blade. And I do like the stone washing on there as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Materials obviously is something that I really like on this knife as well. You know, regular one, believe usually comes with crew wear. Is that what it says? Yes, crew wear. So excellent crucible metal steel, and then MagnaCut on this one, which again, outstanding steel. Now you are paying for it in this blade. Boy, are you paying for it. But I cannot fault them for using those materials. They're outstanding. I don't have a ton of experience with crew wear or MagnaCut, but the little experience I have with it holds just a great edge, just super consistent. Not the end of the world to sharpen it either. So it's kind of like a miracle steel in my opinion, from what I've seen in my limited use. Let me know what you guys think of them in the comments if you've used them a little bit more, but I cannot fault them for the materials because they are absolutely top notch. Clip is really nice on this too. It's just a simple loop over pocket clip, but it works really well, carries plenty deep, but not too deep. And then I think that the looks of this, particularly this one, let's compare it to another carbon fiber blade. Brought this out in the last review, the Cold Steel Silver Eye. So the Cold Steel Silver Eye is a carbon fiber handles, no liners. You don't need them, but the way Benchmades work, you know, they use them. So a lot lighter, but again, two blades that look very pretty, also very functional. And that's kind of my favorite kind of blade, one that kind of meets those things in the middle. It's super functional, but also just looks really pretty. Line Steel is really good at doing that. And I actually have blade coming up for review, Line Steel M7, really pretty blade. Just love those handles. Also super functional. So that's kind of, you know, who wouldn't want that, right, in a blade? Just functionality and looks as well. So let's talk about what I don't mind. The axis lock I like. What I don't like about it, and you guys know this, who've used axis locks, those springs in there, the Omega springs, I think is what they call them, those are prone to break. I know because I've broken 3 of them probably, and I don't flip my knives as much as some people, or I think use my knives as hard as some people. They're just thin. They're thin. The springs that are used to detent that. And I think that makes for an easier deployment or an easier disengaging of the lock. But it also means that spring, it's very possible it's going to break. Now, Benchmade has an amazing warranty, absolutely outstanding warranty. That is another thing to think about when buying a Benchmade. Life Sharp, they'll do a little spa treatment for you. And they've always fixed those Omega springs. But it's one of those things, it's just, it's kind of ridiculous that I've had to send 3 blade, actually it was 1 blade twice, and then another blade back to Benchmade to fix those Omega springs. I think that's silly. I don't think that should be the case. So the reason I say it's something I don't mind, because I do like the axis lock, and of course they let the patent lapse, so now you have, like I showed earlier, the Schrade Divergent using that kind of same bar lock. Now, this has a spring on it. Let's see, can we see that? Yeah, that spring is significantly more stout. Is it a little bit more difficult to undo? Maybe. This, honestly, this pivot, better than that. I know it's overseas produced, I get it, guys, but like, this is a $450 MSRP knife. This is like 30 bucks. You should be able to match the pivot, the strength and the smoothness of a knife like this, in my opinion. I'm not saying this knife is everything this is. It's not. But still, when you have other companies doing your patented or previously patented lock better than you, maybe take a look at yourselves there, Benchmade. I like Benchmade as a company, but it's been hard to be enthusiastic because I don't think they've taken a lot of strides aside from in super premium blade steels. But their prices are out of whack, and that's kind of gets us to one thing I don't like. I think even with the premium materials you're getting and it being American made and with all the positive things about this, I think they're just too expensive. Benchmade has been smoking something with their prices, and I want in, man. Like, it's just wild what they'll post a blade in CPM D2 with Zytel handles and partial liners for $200, and I just can't get behind that. Now, if the design was outstanding, I might be able to pay a little bit more for less premium materials. I've talked about how blade steel is not everything. Premium materials aren't everything, so long as design is great. But there's nothing so astounding about their designs that makes me want to spend so much more money than I could on a, just to bring to example, and this is something I have to grab out of my case real quick. American-made S35 VN steel. This is a aluminum frame lock from Case. These go for $100, sometimes less, sometimes like $80 on sale. I can't justify spending nearly $200 on a Benchmade bug out that has Zytel handles and S30. I think their prices are kind of insane. For the G10 version of this in crew wear, $200, great, outstanding, good price. I think it's well worth it. But for nearly $300, I just don't think that's worth it. I think that's overpriced, and I believe this guy, I would call overpriced as well. So last thing I don't like on it is the finish, this kind of copper finish, which I thought might have been like an anodized finish. It seems to be just like a Teflon paint of some kind. I don't think that's going to wear very well. You can already see on that pocket clip, this has hardly gotten any use, and that's already starting to wear. So I could see that wearing and the thumb stud wearing a bit as well. I think that should have been like anodized so that it's not going to wear nearly as much as, some kind of coating like that. So anyway, would I recommend this? Well, here's the thing, guys. I like this blade. I think it's a great, outstanding blade. If you're willing to spend that much money on it and there's just something about it that connects with you, I say go for it. It's a great knife, and I know the G10 version is great too, probably even a little bit more traction on it. Just a great tank of a knife. So if you really like it and you don't mind spending that price, sure, go for it. But me personally, I don't think I can get behind spending quite that much on these blades. So take that as a recommend, take that as a non-recommend, kind of whatever. That's kind of a good litmus test for how you saw the review, I guess. Anyway, guys, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching the videos. Let me know what you want me to review kind of coming up. We got a lot of blades coming up for review, as you might have seen. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Peace.